what's going on? Happy Saturday to all of you. This is the Club of the Man 1993, and I'm here to continue to catch up on my pay-per-view reviews for this channel, as I am now on NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. This pay-per-view took place back on August 31st, 2019 at the what's the name of the arena again? I already forgot. I got to pull up on the notes here. This one was at the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff, Wales. It is the second pay-per-view for the NXT UK brand. As I continue to say, NXT UK is definitely, not a bad show to check out once in a while, which is what I do. I mean, I don't have the time to watch it full time, like every single week by week. But it's like once in a blue moon, I'll take a weekend, watch a few episodes, and just see what's going on, because again, there is good talent on this brand. The takeovers have not been too bad. I would say maybe TakeOver Blackpool 2 might have been the weakest in my opinion. Just my opinion. This one though wasn't too bad. I still say the first takeover that they had to take over, the first TakeOver Blackpool, I thought they're probably the best one so far. This one was not too bad either. We had 6 matches on the card. We had 3 title matches. We had 2 title changes on this show as well. So overall, I gotta say, it wasn't too bad of a takeover, I would say, in my opinion. Of course, I knew it was supposed to be a moment maker for one superstar in particular in the tag title match, because they're in their hometown, so why wouldn't they capitalize on their momentum for sure. But we'll talk about this show and see what we got to say about this, and continue to move on forward and catch up on these reviews. So that's going to do that with the introduction. Again, this took place in Cardiff, Wales, of course, as you can see. We opened up with a match, just a regular singles match between Travis Banks and Noam Dar. This match was not too bad. Wasn't anything too special. The thing about this UK takeovers is some of these matches, they're good, but they feel like they're matches that could have just taken place on an episode, just like a regular episode or something like that. I feel like this one was one of them. Still a solid match for sure, I gotta say, between these two. They're definitely both super talented, as I always say. But I think this was more kind of to get Noam Dar going as a heel again, since he had randomly returned to the UK after a brief injury last summer. And they had turned him heel, and it was weird. He had a match with Mark Andrews. That was actually a pretty good match. But then they both got injured during the match. They thought first maybe Dar re-injured his recently injured knee from the year before. Thank goodness he did not. And then they kind of played the storyline off where it's like he had respect for Mark Andrews, but then he just pulled it off just so he can get that victory over him. And Travis Banks, obviously, is always just like a scrappy, underdog character that sometimes you could easily feel empathy for him, because I feel like he just can't catch a break with the injuries, but he comes back and has great matches. He did, I think, before, sometime in the summer, last summer, get a title opportunity against Walter. He came up short, but, it was a good match. But this was kind of just a way to kind of, give him a little more of a rub, and, of course, give some more momentum for Noam Dar, since he had just started turning heel. Noam Dar did come away with the victory in the end, as I felt probably should have. Again, not a bad match, but more so a match that you probably would expect to see on just like a regular episode. It didn't quite feel like an amazing pay-per-view match, but it was still solid. I'll give the guys credit. It was a solid match, I thought. So that was how we opened up the show. Next up was an open challenge, and it was an open challenge, and the match ended up being Cesaro and Elia Dragonoff. This match was good. To me, it felt like the same story in some ways was kind of told with Cesaro and Sami Zayn at NXT Arrival back in 2014. It was a way to kind of yes, Dragonoff lost the match. Cesaro won, which, okay, cool, Cesaro won the match, but what is it really going to do for him in the long run, since he's just being treated as just one of Sami Zayn's cronies right now with the Artistic Collective on the main roster, which sucks. Well, this is before he chimed in. This is right around the time where Zayn and Nakamura started doing their thing. But just a kind of a good way to kind of really give Dragonoff that, I wouldn't say underdog feel, because I don't think Elia Dragonoff is an underdog. I feel like the bar was already set pretty high for him when he came in. I've heard on numerous occasions Triple H is super high on Dragonoff, and to a point where I think like one report said Triple H is obsessed with this man, and I think he is talented for sure. He also had a great match against Finn Balor at Worlds Collide. Came up short in that one as well, which I'm surprised he came up short there. But then again, he really won. I think Balor needed the win more than him in that match to kind of get him going again, since he was on the main roster treated like an idiot all the time. But anyway, so I guess it's kind of like that, like little, surprise type match. Because at the first UK Takeover in Blackpool, Balor appeared as a surprise. It was supposed to be Devlin and Banks, but then they written off Travis Banks and had it be Devlin and Balor for a great teacher versus student match. But this match I think was great as well. A good way to give Elia Dragonoff a great rub. Of course, Cesaro keeps playing this role though, because he did that with Sami Zayn. He also did it with I didn't watch the show, but I heard he did it with Mansoor, like his name is, back at Crown Jewel in 2019, which I didn't watch that show. I'm not going to be reviewing that, but that's why I heard to have it there. But I still thought this was a good match. After Cesaro won, he did kind of show the sign of respect to for Dragonoff, but it still feels weird because once again he's doing this, but he's still a heel. But why is he still showing this, giving the sign of respect? Then again, that's Triple H writing him and Vince McMahon writing him, two different perspectives. So I'm not sure why, but Cesaro got the win. I thought it was a nice addition to the card. I think definitely one of the strongest matches of the night. I would say for sure. I wouldn't say it was the best one, but definitely one of the strongest one. There was a point in the match also, I remember, where there was 40 rotations that Cesaro had on the Cesaro swing, which of course was freaking awesome. But yeah, it's still definitely an awesome match. And again, but again, as always, it showed the sign of respect and just a good way to put over Dragonoff. So that is my thoughts on the second match. The third match was a triple threat tag team championship match. It was the NXT UK Tag Team Champions, the Grizzled Young Veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake, taking on Gallus's Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, and the what do they call them? The South Wales subculture, whatever they're calling them now. Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. Fun match, very fun tag match, definitely. This was a ladder match. I think this went even better. Of course, there was a ladder match between three of the four of these teams at the next UK Takeover. That was alright, but disappointed a little bit because it was a little bit sloppy. But obviously, the tag team division was growing pretty well at this time for NXT UK. I think even though I keep saying it's probably more so just like a temporary thing for it's going more longer term for Gibson and Drake, since there's no singles title for Zach Gibson to go after. The two of them, I can safely say at this point, kind of compare them to the Revival in some ways. Like their old school, simple philosophy, in my opinion, it doesn't do anything too fancy, but they get the job done, and they have just that simple old school psychology where it's like, yeah, they're scrappy cheaters to win matches, but to me, it's like they look intelligent at the same time. They look smart. They don't look like freaking cowards. Yes, they complain a lot, but when they do have matches, they don't really come across as like weak cowards that can't win matches either. Of course, you have Gallus's Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, who of course have been part of the faction claiming that they run this kingdom at the beginning. Of course, this was right before the Gallus and Imperium feud as well. That was a little bit weird, but not too bad. But then there was a Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews, the underdogs, and also Mark Andrews is from Wales, right? So I'm thinking, okay, Mark Andrews is being set up to have a big moment in this match for sure. And it happened. I thought it was a very fun match. And then, of course, it really got... This match did a great job also with getting the crowd really invested in Andrews and Webster, again, especially since it's, Andrews' hometown. I think it's Webster's hometown as well. I can't remember. But this was all... at this time, Grizzled Young Veterans had a great run as tag champions, had a couple of successful tag team... title defenses, but I felt this was the right moment to put the titles on someone else, and definitely to create a moment, give it to Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, which I'm like, awesome, because Flash Morgan Webster, I didn't really start started getting to know him too well until the NXT UK brand started. But Mark Andrews, even before the brand officially started, he was one of the few guys who was still appearing on 205 Live and NXT, and a couple of matches against a couple UK wrestlers that were appearing on there at the time. I was a fan of him. I definitely think he's a great scrappy underdog babyface that I wouldn't mind seeing him someday get a shot for the United Kingdom Championship for sure. If they did a match with him and Walter, cool. But yeah, I definitely think he definitely deserves a moment like this in his hometown, and I'm glad that they went ahead with it and gave it to him, as him and Webster won this match. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I just had a text message I'll answer in a little bit, but that was a really fun tag match. Definitely, I would say maybe this or the match with Dragonoff and Cesaro was my second favorite match of this show. The main event was definitely my favorite match, and definitely one of the best matches of the year, I gotta say for sure. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. We're moving on now. The fourth match on the show. I forgot about this one. The fourth match on the show was a last man standing match with Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey. Not a bad match. Kind of another way to get both of these guys, since they're two of the more established stars in the UK at the time. I felt, Dave Mastiff is kind of like, I wasn't going to say the Braun Strowman, but kind of like, the big man baby face that people were behind. Joe Coffey, is just, the leader of, at the time, I thought one of the more dominating factions in the UK. So obviously kind of give him a little more of a rub as well. And also Mastiff came off of the last pay-per-view with a win. Joe Coffey came up short in the last pay-per-view. The ending was a little bit weird, but it is what it is still. I thought it was alright, but I didn't think it was the best last man standing match I saw. But Coffey got the win, so I was cool with that. Again, neither of these guys I felt were really, well, if they were getting ready for a feud with Gallus and Imperium, since they're at the time the two biggest heel factions, then I guess giving Coffey the win was fine. Dave Mastiff could have taken the loss. I still thought that Eddie Dennis should have beat him at a TakeOver Blackpool 1, because I was really, I still am interested in Eddie Dennis based off of his brief little history, again, as being good friends with Mark Andrews, Pete Dunne, trying to sound like the originals who started this brand, like the founding fathers, for crying out loud. But then of course he was in education, as I said before, and didn't get this chance to live his dream. But yeah, so I gotta say that not too bad of a match, but it wasn't the best last man standing match I had seen. But still not too bad. Joe Coffey got the win. Next match was for the NXT UK Womens Championship. It was Toni Storm taking on Kay Lee Ray. Okay match, I'll say. At the time, though, the thing was, long story short, Kay Lee Ray won the match, and she won clean. But at the time, I felt like, okay, the story has something to it, but I wasn't digging it yet. And I wasn't feeling Kay Lee Ray becoming the women's champion yet. I felt that Toni Storm should have had a longer run. Now, I feel like, with the run that Kay Lee Ray has had as NXT UK Women's Champion, she's become more established. I will say, I definitely, it wasn't clicking with me at first, but I would say the recent, ending to this story between Kay Lee Ray and Toni Storm, I'm like, okay, I got it now. Especially, during the I Quit match they just had recently. I'm like, okay, now I get her now. To me, it was just like, okay, Kay Lee Ray, said she was going to make Toni's life a living hell whenever she first became the number one contender. And in real life, they have been very good friends, but obviously the story is just run simply. Kay Lee Ray obviously cared about, business over her friendship with Toni Storm. So, to get into the head of Toni Storm, which I thought maybe she's going to play some, mind games physically. Instead, she went more mind games mentally and just exposed, Toni Storm, how literally, yes, she's awesome in the ring and whatnot. I mean, yeah, she's the winner of the first ever Women's Mae Young Classic. Honestly, the right person to start building this women's division around in the UK. But outside of that, she's got a hard life outside of this. But then Kaylee Ray decided to just, expose it and just shake up Toni Storm. And at first, at the beginning, I'm just like, okay, this isn't bad, but it's like, it's not lighting the world on fire for me. But then, after, Kaylee beat Toni, and then Toni went away for a while, I'm like, oh, man, it must have really, gotten to Toni. And I actually was able to kind of feel for it and, like, say, okay, I get this now. Eventually Toni would come back once it looked like Kaylee Ray and Piper Niven were going to feud for the Women's Championship. And then, obviously, Toni had her case to get in a rematch. Piper Niven had made her case to get in a match. And at the time, Toni was like, I'm, Piper, you'd earned this, but let me take care of Kaylee first, and then you can have the first chance once I get the title back. And Piper's like, no, I'm not waiting. I have my chance. So that caused tension between them. And we had a triple threat at TakeOver Blackpool 2, which we'll talk about when we get to TakeOver Blackpool 2. And again, now the story goes that, Toni Storm was just obsessed getting the title off of Kaylee Ray. And then Kaylee gave her one more chance, but if she doesn't do it this time, then she can't have another opportunity while Kaylee Ray was still champion. And to me, I think it ended up being, even though at the time it was like, okay, at this point where we were now with Cardiff, like, okay, this is all right, but I wasn't feeling Kaylee Ray winning the championship yet. But I'm getting it more now. And I feel like, with that being said, I was able to, accept this victory a little bit more than I was originally, I would say. It's clicking a little bit more for me now. And I think it has given Kaylee Ray establishing more better as a heel, whatnot. I think she has definitely gotten better over the past couple of months as well. So, even though I felt Toni Storm should have had a longer title reign than Kaylee Ray has, I'm starting to see it work a little more. Kaylee Ray's clicking a little bit more for me, if you know what I mean. So, Kaylee Ray wins the championship here, and again, this is where Toni Storm disappears for like 3 months, and then before she returns and goes after Kaylee Ray to get her revenge. And then we had our main event for the United Kingdom Championship. It's Walter taking on Tyler Bate. So, obviously, Walter had won the UK title back at NXT TakeOver New York against Pete Dunne. It was pretty much set in stone when Walter first came over to NXT UK when he made his debut at the end of the main event at TakeOver Blackpool 1. He won a championship with Pete Dunne, and then he gave Pete Dunne his rematch. And that's when he formed Imperium, as they became the more dominating faction in NXT UK. And obviously, it was just the new faction to, run the show, and, the founding fathers of NXT UK, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne, we're all obviously, getting ready to move on to other things. Well, Pete Dunne went over to NXT full time. Seven and Bate, are still around, but it's like they are having their own little stories going on as well. But obviously, this is Tyler Bate was a great opponent, I felt, for Walter at this TakeOver event. It was like a 35-minute match, but as I've always said, what I love about Tyler Bate, strong man, like small guy, 5'9", 175 pounds. This guy, though, can literally work any style of wrestling. Like some people, like guys like, let me think here, like an example would be like people who are good wrestlers just didn't have good chemistry together, like Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura. Their matches were all right, but they definitely weren't as good as we had probably hoped for because their chemistry just didn't mesh together. But they still put on good matches, decent matches, but not like ones that just stood out. Tyler Bate can have a great match with anybody. If they were ever going to bring back Cesaro for another UK event, honestly, I want to see Cesaro and Tyler Bate. That's a match for the ages that I am dying to see, for sure. That's a WrestleMania match right there. This match, though, was freaking awesome, for sure. Again, it was a long match. There was some interference involved. But, I think it was just had a lot of drama, tying all together, kind of like the culmination again of the story with Imperium and British Strong Style. I felt, and of course a good way to put over Imperium as well, as they were still getting upcoming and started, and then of course they would go on to feud with Gallus, but Walter would win the match. But it took a lot for him to put Tyler Bate down, and Tyler Bate was able to bring the fight to Walter, and he looked like he had a good chance to beat Walter. It did not happen though. Walter got the win. Definitely a good match to make it not believable that this is a one-sided match for sure. And to me, probably one of the best matches in the UK last year, I thought. Awesome stuff. Walter gets the win, good way to put him over. And again, this is where it looked like, British Strong Style was moving on to other things, while Imperium is now the force to be reckoned with in the UK. And they would, of course, go on against them before to feud with Gallus in the fall. And that's what kind of led to NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2, which we'll talk about later on whenever we do get to it. But guys, that's going to do it for this review of NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Obviously, the show did also happen to compete with AEW All Out, but no offense, again, as I said, NXT UK is not too bad. It's not lighting the world on fire, but it's not a bad show to check out if you have the time. I definitely would recommend it. But there was no way it was going to compete with All Out. Definitely not. I mean, All Out was still a good show for sure. I wouldn't say it was great, because I actually did get to watch the highlights for Dare Today, which is the best way I'm going to be able to review that show. But I still think UK TakeOver Cardiff, I thought was not a bad show either. I actually gave it a B. We had all the matches I thought were decent to solid. We had two title changes, even though if I first didn't agree with the Kaylee Ray title change. Now I kind of, since I'm getting it more, I feel okay, the pieces fell together as they should have, I felt, so I kind of can accept that more. Again, the main event was freaking awesome. They capitalized also on that big moment of giving Mark Andrews a moment and giving him and Flash Morgan Webster the tag titles as well. So with that, I'm going to give the show a B. Give it a B. Good show, definitely. I don't think it did not outdo All Out, though, that's for sure. But, I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did as well. And that's going to do it for this review, guys. Anybody in the live chat? Tyler. What's up? Saying Strowman should have won the title at No Mercy. Yes. Or Joe. Yes. AEW blew the show. Oh, for sure. I mean, again, AEW was better. But, again, this still was not a bad show to check out for sure. I'll give it the credit. But, thank you for your stuff in the live chat, Tyler. And next time, since I did find, I still haven't watched the actual full show, but I was able to find some highlight videos online to watch, of stuff that happened at AEW All Out. So I will review that show next, maybe sometime tonight. I'm not sure when, but we'll see, because I have another project I'm working on right now. So just wait to see what happens. So guys, thank you again for joining me live here for this live review of NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Again, I gave it a B. What are your thoughts on NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video, subscribe or comment on my channel, follow me on Twitter at DemandAero93. And with that, guys, I am checking out. I will see you all later. Till then, guys, peace out, everybody.